on YouTube. All right. Hello. Hello, hello. Good afternoon. Welcome, welcome. I'm Angela Carter. I'm the program manager for Measure 110. Use they, them pronouns. I will be assisting with facilitation for today's meeting. And our tri-chair who will be facilitating is Ron today. The Oversight and Accountability Council welcomes and encourages community input. Members of the public are invited to submit public comments, or if you would like to get on our interested parties email list, you are welcome to reach out to our email at oha.measure110, that's 110 numbers, at dhsoha.state.or.us. And you can find that email address and much more information about our council on the Measure 110 Oversight and Accountability Council website. If you'd like more information or if you need support with community engagement, please reach out to Jessica Carroll. Our council members have asked that OHA staff and other folks who are present in the meeting space today, please introduce yourself in the chat. If you would be so kind to share your role with the agency, pronouns, and if you are a subject matter expert, what your area of expertise is. All right. I'm just going to take a peek and see how many folks we have in the space before we start attendance. By my count, we might be a couple of folks short for a vote. Let's go ahead and start attendance and see where we are. And if need be, we can take a pause to establish quorum.
Sounds good. Hey, good afternoon. Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. Just say here after I call your name, please. Amy?
Here.
All right. Blue?
Here.
All right. Carlos?
Here.
Okay. Caroline?
Here.
Okay. Dharma?
I'm here.
All right. Aowen?
No part. Aowen will not be able to join us, but we can text Aowen if we need her for quorum.
Okay. Henry? All right. Hubert? Karen?
Here.
All right. Karen. Keisha?
Here.
All right. Lana? Okay. Leticia? All right. Melinda? Okay. Morgan?
Here.
Hi. All right. Nicole? All right. Onisha? Okay. Ron?
Ron, sir.
All right. Sabrina? All right. Zeb?
I'm here.
Oh, okay, good. Thanks, Zeb. All right. And Steve?
I'm here.
All
Howdy.
right. Hey, and Reginald. All right. Right now, where we sit, Angela. Okay, here comes Hubert. So real quick, we're at 11. Hey, Hubert. Right now we have 12, so we have 11 voting members and 1 non-voting members. Turn it back to you, Angela. Hi, Hubert.
All right.
How you
So, hi, Hubert. Welcome. So, for purposes of voting, we're a little bit squeaky there. There may be some more folks up. It looks like we may also have Onisha with us now.
Okay.
Yep,
And
I'm
Hen-
here.
Hey, hi,
Hi,
Anisha.
And Henry should be here as well.
Okay.
Cueing
Hey,
for
Henry.
music.
All right.
All right. Just wanting to make sure that we have enough folks to take care of business today. All right. Well, for now, I will, if I may, pass over to Ron to speak to today's agenda.
Thanks, Angela. Just
Thank you.
I'm just double checking the count here. So we're at 14.
I think so.
So we
Yes.
need one more person to be able to do. And I'm assuming the staff is reaching out to. Okay, great. So today's agenda, we wanted to tri-chairs wanted to make sure that we're able to get the votes in. So we moved the votes for the grant agreements to the first part of the agenda. Then there's also a recommendation regarding the meeting on the 6th that's going to require a vote, modifying that meeting. Then we're going to get some award or just a general update, kind of walk through the dashboard and have people kind of be brought up to date, up to speed on where the awards stand currently. And then we're going to hear from OHA regarding the council improvement process or the appointment process. They're going to review what happened previously prior, in the first round when Wes and Brandy were still here and how that process looked, and then get input from the council regarding are there any suggestions regarding the process going forward. Then there's going to be a discussion regarding the responding to emails that have come into the Measure 110 email address. And that will be the full agenda. Are we at quorum yet? Do we have quorum? I see Nicole is here.
Yeah, we have met quorum with 15 with Nicole. Hi, Nicole.
So with
Hi,
that,
sorry, I couldn't find my mute button. Hi.
It's okay. Welcome. Thank you for joining us.
So just so folks know, we have votes at the beginning of the agenda. We're gonna, we have, I believe, 1 or 2 possible grant agreements to approve, and then we have a vote regarding a modification of the July 6th meeting. And so those are the actions that have to take place today. So let's get right to that right now. Steve.
All right.
So Steve Allen, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay.
Thanks, Ron. We do have 1. We were hoping for 2, but with some last minute changes that will be pushed to next week. Just as a heads up, we are expecting a good 3 or 4 county regions next week. We have 1 this week, which is Wasco. So happy to walk through that. I think Jessica's got the slide. Thank you, Jessica. All right, next slide, please. Might be a little laggy. I'm still seeing the first slide. Oh, there we go. So in the Wasco County region, we had a good number of providers step up and saw a really robust set of services here. I'm just going to, while we have this slide up, I'm going to call out 2 organizations that you'll see referenced later. It's the 2nd and the 4th on this list, which is Greater Oregon Behavioral Health and Columbia Gorge Health Council. GOBI offered for housing, and Columbia Gorge Health Council offered for peer services. As you can see, this region has multiple housing providers and multiple peer services providers. And as you'll see in a moment, this county region was well over budget, and both organizations agreed to step back and withdraw their applications, knowing that there were robust services across all of these areas to help to move towards a budget that would fit within that allocation. Next slide, please. And here's the budget concern that I mentioned, almost $6 million requested, only about $2 million, so roughly 3 times over budget. So a really heavy lift to get there from here. Next slide. Before getting to the budget specifically, here were the concerns and feedback that you all put forward and the responses from the various organizations. For Eastern Oregon Center for Independent Living, the question was whether funds would go directly to Wasco County Services, and the response to that was yes. For Bridges to Change, you asked to confirm that all services will be provided to clients free of charge, and they confirmed that all services provided to community members will be free of charge, and appropriate insurance benefits and entitlements will be utilized if utilization is approved by the individuals receiving services. The question for Give Me Wings was whether the organization only supports individuals who identify as female. They confirmed yes. Those who identify as female, including transgender females. North Central Public Health District, the subcommittee wanted to ensure that there was a focus on ensuring that Narcan was available within the Norcor jail, which is a regional correctional facility, and they confirmed that they'll work with Norcor to ensure the provision of Narcan within that facility. They'll also committed to working with Norcor staff to provide reproductive health services, STD screening and treatment, and outreach and education. And youth empowerment, your question was whether peers are certified and working full-time. They confirmed that they are certified, but at the staff request, they're not working full-time. Staff requested 3/4 time. Intake specialist position will increase from part-time to a full-time position. Next slide, please. Here's significant budget changes. We talked about first focusing on Gobi. You'll see that's the second line. They requested $200,000 and they zeroed out their budget, allowing $200,000 towards that debt reduction. And you'll see North Central Public Health Department also, Columbia Gorge Health Council also zeroed out their budget. So between those two organizations, getting close to $500,000 freed up from the budget. You'll see a lot of significant budget cuts here. We'll get into that in just a second, but the primary thing that got cut out from the cost were those capital investments, and then some staff adjustments, delaying staff and reducing staff. You'll see at the bottom, though, that with all these cuts, that they got down to just within the county allocation. Next slide, please. And here are the budget adjustments. So Gobi, as I mentioned, and Columbia Health Council both dropped out, but again, committed to providing those services in support of this county region regardless. Eastern Oregon Center for Independent Living removed their capital construction for a multiplex housing project. They also cut a vehicle from their budget and reduced their administrative and peer hours. Bridges to Change eliminated all the capital requests from the budget. They eliminated all behavioral health specific services, but within the region, you'll see that there were significant access to those services. And they eliminated the data tracking and administrative infrastructure enhancements for the Wasco region. Next slide. Give Them Wings delayed the start date for their staff to allow them to staff up. That's how they reduced their budget. Mid-Columbia Center for Living removed their capital construction harm reduction supplies. Harm reductions will be provided by other burn providers, however, so that those will be available as needed. They delayed the start of supportive employment, will continue to do it. Eliminated nursing positions, and then those will be paid for through Medicaid. Mid-Columbia Medical Center cut a peer support person and reduced the purchase of a computer to reduce theirs. North Central Public Health reduced staff hours, removed their AmeriCorps Vista member, reduced harm reduction supplies budget, and will work with other burn providers to offer harm reduction. One Community Health will continue to participate in the burn with current staff, limited its staffing budget, only seeking funding for peer training, DEI training, Native American specific training to provide culturally specific services in Wasco County region, and youth empowerment, reduced network coordinator position, only focus on peer services and housing for youth. Next slide. And here is the grid of all the matrix for all the providers after those that self-eliminated from now. And you can see that all service areas remain provided and in a pretty robust fashion. I think that's the last slide. Happy to take questions if there are.
Looks like Karen Wheeler has a question or a comment.
Hi, thank you, Ron, and thanks, Steve. I just want to make a comment that Gobi does not serve the Wasco County area. It is not in our service region. We are headquartered in Wasco County. We have a building there, but we won't be providing any services per se in Wasco County. So I just wanted to state that clarification. Thank you.
Thanks, Karen.
Thank you, Karen. Blue?
Yeah, I have a pretty predictable question. I was just curious if the program that provides harm reduction will be including syringe services. I saw there were some cutbacks with supplies and other things, so I'm just curious on that.
I'm sorry, Blue, I should prepare myself to answer that question each time, and I don't have an answer to that question, but we can confirm it later if you wish.
Sure, thank you.
Thank you, Blue. If no other questions, would entertain a motion.
Yes. I'd like to
I make a
move
motion
it.
that we
Okay. Thank you, Hubert.
accept Wasco County's recommendations for a budget.
Second.
All right.
Further
Thank
discussion?
you.
Let's vote. All right, I'll take it from the top. Amy, how do you vote?
Yes.
All right. Blue?
Yes.
Okay. Carlos?
Yes.
Okay. Caroline?
Yes.
All right. Dharma?
Yes.
All right. Henry?
Yes.
Okay. Hubert?
Yes.
All right. Karen?
Just want to make a statement. The director of this program is on my board, but there is not an actual conflict. I'm voting yes.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying, Karen. Keisha?
Yes.
All right. Lana. Leticia? Melinda? Morgan?
Yes.
All right. Nicole?
Yes.
Okay. Onisha? Okay. She said yes in the chat, just to clarify. Ron?
Yes.
Okay. Sabrina and Zeb.
Yes. Yes for me.
Okay. That passes with 14. And I turn that back over to you, Angela or Ron.
Okay, so
Angela and Ron, is it okay if I get back to a question that was related to a provider from last week from Henry?
sure.
Yep, thank you. So Henry raised a question about a particular provider last week, Boulder Care, and I said we would do a bit of research and get back to the council. The questions related to Boulder Care as a firm that is primarily officed out of state and only provides services via telehealth. And as you're aware, Boulder Care applied statewide and was approved in some, but not all county regions. We looked into Boulder Care's status and determined that they are an eligible Medicaid provider in Oregon under the flexibilities under the public health emergency, where telehealth providers are eligible, only providing telehealth services. As you're aware, during the pandemic, lots of things changed in the healthcare landscape, including that. also confirmed through Boulder Care that many of their providers providing care in Oregon live in Oregon and are credentialed in Oregon, but for those who are not, do not live in Oregon, they are appropriately credentialed to be able to practice in Oregon. So from our perspective at OHA as a regulator, we're assured that they are an eligible provider for these services under Measure 110.
All right, thank you.
Thank you,
If I
Steve.
may.
Henry, did you have a follow? Do you have
No, I just appreciate that due diligence. Thank you, Steve.
You're welcome, Henry. Happy to follow up. We want to do our job.
Thank you. Okay, so I think we can now move on to the second item on the agenda, which is there's somewhat of a suggestion and recommendation from Angela and the staff regarding the meeting next week, which would be the 6th, and possibly a modification of that meeting. So Angela, take it away.
All right, thank you, Ron. So it is summer, and we have received feedback from a number of you that you would like a little moment of a break, if possible. We have been working really hard on this process. All of you have put in a lot of effort and time. And so the proposal that I would like to make is that for the meeting on the 6th, instead of holding a full meeting, we would like to hold an abbreviated meeting, and only for the purpose of reviewing and approving the grants and the budgets, with the purpose of giving you all a moment to breathe and taking a little time for summer. So I am putting the proposal to you. Does anyone have any questions or concerns about this possibility? Yes, Karen.
Hello.
Hello.
I was thinking about this too because of just my plans for the summer. I'm taking some vacation the last week of July and the first week of August. And I know that we want to make sure we've got quorums and vote on these proposals. So I'm glad we're bringing this up today. I don't have a conflict for next week, but I do have a conflict with vacation the last week of July and the first week of August.
Okay, thank you. This may be a good moment to initiate that conversation as well. This is just the end of June, beginning of July, and I know that a number of you have summer plans. If there are extensive, if there would be a number of weeks that folks would be potentially on vacation or not available to attend meetings, that would also be useful information for us to know so that we can make sure that we are able to continue moving forward with the votes on the counties. And so perhaps on the fly, I am thinking it may be useful for us to gather information from you on your availability throughout the remainder of the summer, at least for the month of July, while we are completing the majority of the remaining counties and the votes for those counties. So I would propose to send out a request for your availability so that we can make sure in this next month, perhaps a month and a half, that we will have quorum at all of our meetings. And if we will not have quorum for vacation purposes or whatever it may be, then we would want to discuss that with you and let you know that we would not be able to vote at those meetings so that we can plan for that. So after this meeting, I will send out an invitation to let us know what your summer schedule looks like so that we can begin planning ahead for that. But as far as next week, which is July 6th, which is the week of July 4th, does anyone have any thoughts around reserving that meeting for discussion of the counties and letting the rest of the meeting go for that week as far as other issues and items that we would bring up. Does anyone have any concerns with this idea? Yes, Caroline.
Yeah, I have family coming up from California, so I was going to be off next week, but I was going to call in. So
Okay.
if it's a short meeting, I shouldn't have a conflict. And I
Right.
really don't know what I'm going to do the rest of the summer yet. But
Okay.
I could always call in.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Carlos.
I'm going to be just on the day that I put in the 13th. I'll be driving back from California. I'm thinking that if I have signal somewhere, I could always pull over and do it through my phone.
Thank you.
That's the only Wednesday that I foresee, that would conflict.
Okay, thank you. And Henry.
Angela, would you just like us, the council members or committee members, to email you or Jessica or someone to discuss any conflicts with scheduling?
I will send out, just to make sure everyone remembers, I'll send out a reminder email asking for any times that you may not be available on a Wednesday for the summer. So if you want to just send it first, that's fine too, but I'll send out a reminder just to make sure. Yes, Jessica.
Can I just make the suggestion that we send those emails to Sydney McConnell rather than Angela or I? I'm going to drop Sydney McConnell's email into the chat.
Thank you, Jessica. Yes, Steve.
Trying to make sure I get off mute. I think this is a really important discussion. I think the council, you all understand that we have worked through many of the most straightforward county regions and had a bit of a surge here a couple weeks ago, but we're working really diligently on about 10 more that are all close, and it's hard to know exactly when they'll fall because details sometimes show up at the last minute that complicate that. But I think maybe two things to keep in mind. Having your votes on Wednesday is really important, and we will work diligently to have as many county regions available to you each week as possible. If it turns out that we have a week in which we have none, which we don't think is likely, we can let you know in advance, and that may change tri-chairs, how you want to handle the meeting. But we just really need to ensure that we have quorum, as Angela described, for the meetings we have going forward, because these folks are really anxious to get across the finish line and begin to do that work. Thank you.
All right. Any other thoughts about the meeting on the 6th next week and abbreviating that meeting to approve the counties, but shortening it so that you can have the remaining time to yourself? All right.
Okay. So we can move on to the award updates.
Well, I believe that we would need the council's approval.
Oh, I'm sorry.
In order
I thought the
to do
action
that.
was that people were. I thought the action that I just heard that the people were going to contact staff.
So action items would be, please reach out to Sydney McConnell with your summer schedule. She will send a prompting email. And are you amenable to abbreviating the meeting next week? And if so, may we vote?
I mean, does that require a motion to abbreviate the meeting, to only do the business of the award agreements?
I might request Allison's input here just to be sure. If we don't need a vote, then that is totally fine. I just want to make sure that we have the approval of the council. Allison, do you have any thoughts here on whether or not we would need
The
a
question
vote?
is whether we need to vote on the decision on
I'm sorry, you cut out a little bit. I'm having trouble hearing you. Allison, if you can hear us, we're not able to hear you. If you are able to put in the chat, the question is, does the council need to vote in order to abbreviate the meeting next week on the 6th?
And Angela, it's Shannon O'Fallon from DOJ.
Hi, Shannon, thank you.
And sorry, I was multitasking, so thanks for restating the question. So it's just about abbreviating the meeting, making it shorter versus.
Correct. We would
Well,
just hold the meeting to vote for the counties, and then we would end the meeting.
this is my off the cuff legal advice is that that's fine as long as the agenda sort of accurately reflects the timing, and that's not an issue. And I'm not even sure it's necessarily something that the council needs to vote on, but it certainly could.
Okay. I see Caroline has a hand up.
That's exactly, well, not almost word by word. So you put out the agenda. If we finish the agenda, then we don't have to justify anything. We finished the agenda. It's just kind of nice to let us know in advance that it's probably not, there's not going to be enough on the agenda. So just plan on a short. So I don't think we need to get anything approved because it's not really, if that's all that's on the agenda, that's all that's on the agenda.
Okay, that sounds good to me. Thank you for your pragmatism. Any other thoughts? All right, then we can move to the next one. We will abbreviate next week's meeting. We will only hold the meeting to vote for the counties, and then we will close.
Okay, thanks, everybody. Thank you, Shannon. So that brings us up to the update. And I think you were gonna possibly walk through the dashboard so folks can see it who haven't seen it or aren't tracking it.
Yes, yes. First, I will go through our usual presentation of where we're at with the counties. Hang tight here while I pull that up. All right, here we are. All right, so at this point, we have 19 of the 36 counties approved, and we are in the process of getting the grant agreement signed by both the agencies and our tri-chairs for finalization. And then we have the organizations that are still in the negotiations process. We actually did, that's not working. I guess I can't do that in presentation mode. So we have 20 as of today, 20 counties approved. And I just wanted to give sort of a sense. We've been able to move relatively rapidly through this set of 20. And we are now moving into some of the larger counties with a greater number of entities. And so with that, there are a lot more moving pieces. There are more agencies to negotiate with. There are more memorandums of understanding to get in place. And so the pace may slow down a little bit going through this next set. I just want to set you up for an understanding that it is likely, as Steve said, that we have 10 that are very close at this point, but it may be a little bit slower just because there are more moving pieces. And continuing on, we are continuing with the meetings with our awardees, providing them with information and resources. We have completed the majority of the welcome meetings at this point, and negotiations are ongoing. And at this point, we have, for this week, Jackson County Jackson will be meeting on the 30th. Next week, Multnomah County will have their meeting on the 7th. And then as far as the tribal intergovernmental grant agreements, we are in the final approval stage, and the amounts are set. There is no negotiation needed. So once we have that template in place, those will also be put forth. All right, that's it for that. And I will move now over to share with you our website and the map. All right, so if you have not had a chance lately to wander over to the Measure 110 website, this is not the council website, this is the program website. So on the program website is a statewide map available for all of the burns. And if you look here, it's a little small, I apologize. I don't know that I can make it any larger. But all of those counties in orange are approved and full burns created by the OAC. And they have everything in place, they're ready to go. And then the ones in blue are approved for negotiation. So the negotiation process is still ongoing in those counties. If you take your mouse and hover over, for instance, here we have Polk County, it lets you know the number of burns in the county, the number of entities in the burns, and the total award allocation for that county. So if you go through and hover over blue, for instance, those items are not yet there because the negotiations are not yet finalized. But for each of the counties that is finalized, you can get this overview of funding and the number of entities. And then if you would like to know more information about any of the counties or the burns, you can click here to follow the link. And it opens up a Smartsheet Dashboard, which is taking a moment to load. Please hold. All right. So we'll wait just a moment more for it to load. There we go. So you can see here, there's the total number of entities, the total number approved for negotiations, and in a moment, it'll let us know how many complete burns are here. And then further down, we have a county by county breakdown of how many entities have been approved per county, and if they are a complete burn, ready to go and complete with their process. There is, of note, there is still the process of receiving the memorandums of understanding from the counties that have complete burns and signed grant agreements. And so we are working with all of those counties to help them get those memorandums of understanding in place. Once we receive those memorandums of understanding, then we are able to send funding out to those organizations. And if you scroll down further, you are able to see each of the counties, if they are fully complete and activated here, and what the different service areas are here. I'll let you all review those, but then a little further down yet, each of the counties has the entities listed out and the services that those entities will be providing. So Benton County, for instance, has these 6 different entities that will be working together to provide all of the services. And these will continue. These are at this point, unless any of our awardees decide that they do not want to be a part of the grants process any longer, this should maintain as is. So all of the entities and their service areas are provided. And let's see if I can, there we go. And then again, a little further down, there is the total allocation of funding for each of the counties listed out. All right. So please feel free to jump on, look around, find out what you are interested in learning. There will be more information in the future about accessing these agencies on the website. But at this point, are there any questions from the council about any of this information? Yes, Henry.
Hi, Angela. I just wanted to
Hello.
express how grateful I am for this information and the way it's presented. I think there's been a lot of critique about, the work that we've been doing, about, some things I've heard people saying about, well, it's not providing treatment, for folks. And so I think this is like indisputable, data is showing all of the hard work that we've been doing, OHA and the OAC, in service of folks who are using substances in Oregon and who need services, and these providers many of them are very, well-established mental health and substance use disorder treatment providers, and the amount of money that we are providing to help to continue this life-saving work, I think, is so invaluable. And so I just feel, being a part of the process, there's times it's such a large process that sometimes I don't even know all the work we're doing. So it's like so awesome to see this. I just can't express my enough gratitude and excitement about this. Thank you.
Thank you, Henry. I'm glad that it is useful. And again, as we move forward, there will be more information about the different agencies and entities so that people are able to learn more about them, access their information online, and access services. Yes, Blue.
I actually just wanted to, I don't know who created this or came up with this, but I do find it very easy to follow visually. So if they happen to be in this meeting or watching the replay, thank you for creating a system that to me is really easy to follow and find, who was funded for which services where. It's been really helpful when I've been speaking with community members as well. So I just want to give a shout out to however this system was created.
Thank you, Blue. Definitely. I think that folks have done an excellent job. I'm really, really happy with it too. It's fantastic. Any other thoughts or questions or comments about this information sheet at this time?
Hubert.
Oh, Hubert, yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, so, I remember back in the beginning of this process when we had nothing in place and did not know what or anything was going to look like. And so as I sit here and I look at this, I'm very proud and I'm very excited about the systems that's being put in place to be able to get this money out the door faster the next time we do it. Anytime you're the pioneer of anything, it's going to be rough, right? But we didn't persevere it. And I think we're just going to get more and more better as we get more experience going forward with doing these processes. So I'm very excited about this. This looks really good. I just wanted to comment on that.
Thank you, Hubert. Thank you. All right.
I do have one question. So you mentioned that this doesn't reflect the completion of the MOUs. So is there going to be another color?
I believe that is something that could probably be done as well as the MOUs get put in place.
Okay.
I will check back with the team and see what we can do to represent that here as well.
Okay, thanks.
All right. I will take this down for now, but please do feel free to explore the website and learn more about it. And as we continue to work through negotiations and get the MOUs in place, that information will be reflected here as well. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. So now we're going to move on to the council appointment process. I'm sure folks recall how they were brought onto the council and the process that you went through. We're going to kind of get a review of that and then begin a conversation regarding the process going forward and any thoughts that you may have. So Angela?
Thank you. So, back in, I believe it was, I believe you all received your letters in either January or February of last year. The Senate Bill 755 put forth that the director's office at OHA would have the authority to appoint council members. And so the original team here at OHA that was working on Measure 110, which was Wes and Brandy, put together an application which was shared on the Measure 110 website and out with community. You all received those applications and applied, and those applications were reviewed by staff and recommendations were provided to the director's office. Once a decision was made, you each received a letter from the director's office that appointed you to the position, I believe for 4 years. And then you all began working on the council together shortly thereafter. So that's a very high level overview, the basic idea of how the council was initially appointed. And at this point, we have maintained the majority of council members. We did have Chair Kennedy resign last fall, unfortunately. And so we are still a pretty robust group, but there may be that we have attrition over time. And at the end of 4 years, there will need to be another round of appointments. My understanding is that appointments for folks who would like to continue may be an option. But at this point, we were wanting to just discuss moving forward with how things could go for future appointments. Not necessarily going into great depth. I believe that this conversation would be best in a future meeting, but just so that you have an understanding of what that appointment process was, and maybe could start thinking about how the council may like to be involved in that. I think that's something that we could begin talking about today. Yes, Caroline.
So after Cheryl Kennedy left, the tribes had several meetings to try to nominate another Native American person representing the western side of the state or the urban area. Since I kind of represent all the tribes, but I'm a treaty tribe. I'm actually a reservation tribe. And sometimes we need a different mixture because of the fact that some of the tribes have been reinstated. And so there are different, I guess, historical history that we have with different types of needs. So the tribes have already selected someone. I think we were kind of told that we were going to wait till after this whole process of the grants were done. So the tribes would like to retain that appointment because we had 2 Native people on the board, and we would like to retain that person for another tribal representative. And I don't know, you know, because I wasn't involved with how the selection or who was representing who, if there was, how the cross section, you know, how that was done. We just didn't want to lose that position since it was a Native American appointee.
Thank you, Caroline. Yes, Ron.
Right, thank you, Angela, and thank you, Caroline. Yeah, so, right, that kind of brings up, for me, there were two questions in that, what you were talking about, you know, so there's one, you know, the full council appointment process that happens every 4 years. And then the second question is what to do when we have people leave the council midterm. And so that question seems to me to be the one that that we might want to start to address now, but I'm not sure that we have all the information we need to be able to do that in terms of you know, how people want to proceed, because it's clear the law, and it was the original law, ballot measure 110, that established that it's the director of the health authority that appoints. And so so I just want to, so just kind of just pin that there's two questions. One question is, you know, how does the council want to be involved in the next round if there's going to be the same process, if it's going to be the same process or a different process, which was, you know, the staff created an application, they posted it online, people were able to submit. And then once folks from the community, there was like a community engagement process where the link was shared and the application was shared, and folks were able to submit their application. And then there was a selection or vetting process by the staff. The staff then came up with a second set of recommendations of names that they then provided to senior staff at OHA. And then the director then from that senior staff recommendation appointed. And so that's and this is my question for Allison and Shannon is, you know, how much involvement can the council have in that? Because that was a staff OHA kind of led process that's mandated by law that the director of OHA appoints. So, so kind of fleshing that out, I thought was something that Allison and Shannon could help us with.
Thanks for that question. We can certainly provide some guidance about that.
So it looks like Jessica and then Steve.
Yeah, I'm gonna let Steve go ahead. Except we can't hear you, Steve.
You're unmuted, but we can't hear you.
All right, sorry about that. Thanks, Ron. Yeah, I apologize. I need to step off in another minute. But we at OHA, so the council wasn't formed at the time the original selection process was developed, and now it is. And I know we at OHA would really value input from the council about how to structure this for both filling vacancies and then during the new recruitment process. And so I think regardless of the director's authority, I think you're right, that's the way it's built in statute. I think we have the flexibility to design a process together that makes good sense to the council. So we're eager to engage the council in developing a new process going forward. And with that, unless there's questions for me, I apologize. I need to step out for our tribal consultation.
Thanks, Steve. Jessica.
Yeah, and I think today is really just meant to be us presenting to you how it happened the first time, because I know it's been a lot since then. We've done a lot. It's been a while. Kind of just give you some insight that you provided. Thank you, Ron, on how the process kind of happened internally. We're not going to make a decision today. Just to get you all kind of primed for the fact that we are going to go back with other OHA staff and tri-chairs and bring you all a couple of options that we see that could work. And we will do that in further meetings. So we're not, this isn't like, hey, we just have to hash everything out here. This was just a way to kind of bring it to the forefront, remind you, hey, this is how it was done the first time. Maybe we can think on it, over the long week, the holiday week that we have, and then we can come back with some structure, some recommended structure. But we always want to keep the council involved. I think that is always the goal for OHA in this process.
Yeah, I agree. And thank you very much. One of the reasons I want to ensure that have DOJ involved in this conversation to remove the perception of, and I'm not accusing anybody of anything or casting aspersions, but kind of self-dealing in terms of creating a scenario where that benefits existing members to be able to continue, which is self-dealing. I just want to avoid that perception. That's why I want DOJ to be involved. Okay, so any other comments? Anyone? Henry?
Yeah, I guess I was just curious about your comment, Ron, around the term of service for folks who are on the council of the committee. My understanding was that it was a 4-year term of service. This is my first experience in something like this on like a macro level when talking about like working as a social worker. And I just don't know. I think I want to express my gratitude to anyone that wants to go more than 4 years. And Jessica and Angela and everyone in OHA, I mean, God bless you, or whatever, spaghetti monster, flying spaghetti monster, bless you, whatever it is, the thing in the sky or not. Anyway, I don't know. I just, yeah. So I just wanted to make sure it is 4 years and not, yeah. And then, I appreciate, Ron, your comment about how we're going to go forward with choosing new folks.
Thank you, Henry.
Thank you. Yes, it is 4 years, and there is a in Senate Bill 755, if a member were to resign prior to the end of their term, someone could be appointed in their place for the remainder of their 4-year term. And then at the end of that 4-year term, could look into the possibility of continuing service if they chose. But so everybody goes through a 4-year term. All terms would come to an end at the end of 4 years. Yes, Caroline.
There's a major danger with that, because that means all of us are wiped out. And I see this happening, especially with my tribe, with our tribal council, and you lose all of the experience. So I think we as a council should really look into staggering terms, or even the possibility of being reappointed. It's hard because it takes time to learn this whole process. And it seems like once we just master it, boom, we're gone. And so I think we really seriously need to look at the terms definitely before. I mean, it seems like, 4 years is a long time. Believe me, as you get more chronologically privileged, those years just kind of zip by. And it's kind of like, what happened? And so I think we really need to probably consider that in the near future to rectify that, because I see that as a major downfall if all of us were to be wiped out and start a whole new group of folks.
I very much agree with you, Caroline. The preservation of institutional knowledge is really important. And if everyone were to leave the council all at once, that would create some difficulty on a number of fronts. And so that is a really important point to consider in how things would continue to move forward. Yes, Jessica.
And just so you know, we're documenting all of these concerns and questions, and we'll be bringing them with us during these conversations. So thank you, Caroline.
Can I say something?
Please, Hubert.
How come, well, maybe if that's the case, maybe we should think about having alternate council members in the future in case one or two, in case that happens, something comes up where somebody has to leave the council. And then we can have somebody that could step in, you know, and fill that void. That would be a problem that could be solved kind of simply with that. I think.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. So lots of possibilities, lots of options. I think that this is probably something to consider and stew on for a while. And eventually, maybe in a few weeks, we can come back and have some further conversation on it and start to make some plans. Yes, Dharma.
Yeah, I'm just thinking from like an equity perspective too about like potential counselors who might resign, potentially like having input on the replacement process too, to ensure like regional representation or at least like area of expertise, like folks with lived experience, you know, folks who are more policy, folks who are more clinical, et cetera. Especially like representing various like gender and ethnic communities too, and making sure that there's that representation. Especially with certain demographics that are so underrepresented on the council. My concern would be that like folks would leave and then folks from like larger counties or more majoritarian identities might take over those spots. So just putting that out there as a concern.
Thank you. Yeah, there are some statutory requirements of what the council has to consist of. There's a requirement for 3 members of communities who've been disproportionately impacted by the war on drugs, a physician, a social worker, a substance use disorder provider, harm reduction services provider. So there's a list of different requirements for the council, but this list of requirements does not include some of those details that you mentioned around representation for specific diverse communities. And so that is another good point for consideration, how we can preserve representation and make sure that communities that have been impacted are on the council and have a voice. Yes, Ron?
Kind of on a similar trajectory, one of the things that as tri-chairs, we wanted to begin a conversation regarding parameters around kind of attendance and that sort of thing. And I think Blue was going to talk through a couple thoughts that she had about that.
That was a point that I omitted from my earlier conversation. I apologize. It was just not in front of me and I missed it. But with the counties and the votes and getting these burns to move forward, it is really crucial that we are able to meet quorum. And, you know, we can work around people's schedules as much as possible, but if in order to move counties forward, we do need to have enough people here to provide those votes. And so just wanting to put that reminder out there that if we are not able to make quorum, we're not able to build the burns. And I know that that is something that is really important to everyone here.
Oh, did you have anything to add to that?
I think Steve touched on some things earlier and Angela covered a bit, but and the folks in this meeting may not be the folks that need to hear it, but just that it is super important that, you know, everybody makes their best effort to try to make all of these meetings. Obviously, life happens, but it's been really hard for us to get quorum some weeks, and we need everybody to really try to just make a commitment to attend as often as possible. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Blue.
Yes, Jessica.
I just real quick wanted to point out that the tri-chairs have been trying to work proactively by to ensure that there's quorum and to make it easier for all of the other council members by moving the votes to the very beginning of the meeting before there are any updates, before there's anything else. And so that was a direct request from your tri-chairs to make it easier for you to be here, at least for the votes. So I just wanted to call that out, that they did request that, and we are doing that.
And one other piece, we've been meeting Wednesdays from 1:30 to 3:30 for the last almost year and a half. And obviously schedules change and new commitments come up. And I know that this has been a consistently difficult time for a few members of the council. And so it is very possible for us to take a step back, I think, once we're done voting on the counties, and make sure that this is the best time possible for everyone involved. So just wanted to put that out there as a thought. If there are commitments that are consistently requiring you to be elsewhere during this time, we would love to take note and understand when might be a better time for the full council to meet.
So I'm not seeing any additional comments or hands raised. I think we can move to the final. Oh, there's Karen. Karen.
Well, I was going to suggest a topic other than this, so I don't want to usurp what you were going to say. And we don't, I wasn't expecting us to talk about it today, but I just wanted to put something in everybody's minds for the future. And that is, once we have all of these burns decided and the contracts are underway, we've got about 6 months until there's a legislative session, 2023. As somebody said earlier, there's a lot of criticism. There's some criticism, I don't know, it's different in different places about this whole thing and what we're doing. And I just think it's really important that we have a very clear path to monitor these contracts. We have a rule, we have the statute, we have the contract. I'm not clear how we're going to do that. So, yeah, we have grant agreements, they signed on the dotted line that they will do these things that they've been approved to do. There's a rule that backs it up. And I'm not clear on how we're going to do that. So I don't want a situation where we have a few months go by and all of a sudden there's a session starting and people start throwing little bombs at us and saying, well, this isn't working. Anyway, I think these burns are also going to need technical assistance. I'm not sure what the plan is for that. I'm sitting here thinking about things we really need to discuss that I think are kind of urgent. So I wanted to put that on the table. Thanks.
Thank you, Karen. Yes, Henry.
Yeah, I just want to second that. I appreciate that sentiment, Karen. And, I think it's important for us to be able to not only identify the providers that we are funding, but also the services that they're providing based on the funding that we're providing. So I think, some of the access to care grants that initially went to some organizations. I don't know which I can't list off a name of those organizations or exactly the amount of services that were provided based on that funding. So I think it'd be helpful to evaluate those services so that we can have an understanding of where the funding is going and make sure that, that we're being fiscally responsible for, those dollars. And I'm not sure if that's the job of OAC to do that or OHA or whatnot. I would just also appreciate and encourage and that conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, Henry. I can provide a little bit of information about how OHA is set up to assist the grantees. OHA uses contract or grant administrators. We will have a team of grant administrators who are working with the entities in all of the counties. The plan is to have a contract administrator who is able to serve all of the members in a burn working together so that that administrator can assist them in relationship building between each other and understanding the requirements of their grant agreements, understanding the requirements of Senate Bill 755 and your Chapter 944 rules. This contract administrator is at OHA the point of contact for the grantees to reach out to and get information, technical assistance, and support. So we will have a person in place to hold all of these grant agreements and manage them. Jessica, please go ahead.
Yeah, I think these are all really good questions. And I think what I'm hearing is that you all would like us to bring you some answers. And I just want to, we can do that, but I just want to make sure that we're presenting it in a way that's clear and on a PowerPoint and that y'all can take with you, or check on the website and get. And these are grant agreements, they are not contracts. And I think you all, and I think because I just had to look up this PowerPoint, that you all kind of got like an overview of the difference between a grant agreement and a contract. And I think we can bring that back. And it's especially prescient because y'all are going to have to do this RFGA again, as everybody is well aware, or some iteration, something. And so we will likely want to bring that back to the forefront. So yeah, I hear your questions. We are making notes of them and we are going to get those answers. This is a very large conversation, a conversation that likely we're going to need, folks from, DOJ leadership here to kind of guide that. So thank you. And we're making note, and this will definitely be on an agenda coming soon.
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you, Jessica.
Thank you, Jessica. I'm pausing to see if there are additional comments or questions. Blue.
Yeah, I think, and I saw Karen put in the chat that I think that data collection is sort of one of the pieces that we will be addressing as a council in the future, and that will hopefully help us get a better picture of what is happening with these organizations as one way for the council to be able to have a little bit more oversight with organizations that we funded.
Yeah, and this is a conversation that's taking place at the tri-chair level with OHA staff, and my understanding is a lot of the some of the elements regarding the oversight of performance reporting, financial reporting, data collection is not yet ready to present fully to the council, and so that's what I think Jessica was just speaking to. And is that right, Jessica?
Yeah, absolutely. We're definitely working on this behind the scenes.
So,
we just don't have it ready for you today.
And so but the narrative that Karen is speaking to is like out in the public, what we're hearing is what is the council doing to protect the public's investment? So that's kind of the question, the narrative that there's rumblings around. Any other comments? Questions? Because we have one more agenda item. And that's to discuss a policy regarding responding to the Measure 110 emails. Angela or Jessica, who's going to take this?
Yeah, I can take this. All right, I have yet another PowerPoint for you. I will put that up on the screen now. All right. So at this point, Measure 110 team will be sending out on a regular cadence the emails from the OHA Measure 110 inbox every month so that you all can review them and create and provide responses as you would like. And so the question is, as you receive these emails, what would you like to do with them, and how would you like to respond? And these are just a couple of questions that I would like to put to you to consider in your development of a policy around how you would like to proceed with the emails and with any public comments that may come to you. So how would you like us to organize them so that they are understandable and categorized in a way that makes sense to you? Do you want to designate a responder or a response team on the council? What kind of time frame would you like for the responses to these emails and comments? Would you be interested in sharing your responses with the public? And if there is an action step that is required or requested from an email or a public comment, how would you like to collectively decide what you would like to do? Yes, Ron.
I'm curious as to whether we have an auto response already for these emails. You know, letting folks know that this is anything that you send is subject to public law, and anything under our response is public and it's under the public records. And is there an automated response going out? That's my question.
I have the answer to that, Ron. There is an automated response going out, but it does not indicate that everything is subject to public record. I mean, anything that is sent to or from the state is subject to public record. It just indicates that we have received your email and someone will be responding.
And just in terms of follow-up, in terms of organizing, and I'm sure everyone who emails institutions or corporations, when they click on the email, it'll say, it'll give you options as to what is it what is this regarding? Like it could be like public comment, contracting, whatever the categories are. It can give you a choice, and then it can sort your email into a particular bucket. I'm just wondering if that's a possibility.
So that is not how the email works. It's simply an email inbox, right? Where you send an email to it and then it comes to the inbox, and then one of the Measure 110 staff mans that inbox, namely me. So it's not pre-sorted, but I can kind of give you some buckets, an idea of what buckets of information or comments come to us. We get we get like the, hey, I would like to join the interested parties email list. Those are generally like, we add your name to the interested parties email list, and we let them know that, and we thank them for that. Additionally, we might have like, I need a YouTube link, like that kind of stuff. So that's actually a majority of what we get to this inbox. However, we do receive comments or questions for the council. Now, when we, in the past, when we have received those, they would go to the tri-chairs if the tri-chairs could read them. Please understand that we've been under an RFGA for a very long time, and a lot of the questions and comments that we get are about the RFGA and applications and stuff that we just can't release to you. But we are starting to be able to release some of that to you. So in our next batch, you're going to see some stuff from maybe a little while ago that you hadn't seen. And so initially, when I first came on board, what would happen is there would be some kind of comment. We would then bring that to the tri-chairs. The tri-chairs would kind of decide what to do with that. And then once the RFGA process started, that kind of stopped. And so now the council would like to read all of the emails, which is fine. I think to your question, Ron, I don't even know if it's possible to put that kind of drop-down menu. I mean, we just use a pretty regular email service. I don't know if that's possible. That's probably a lot of words for the little question that you asked me. I apologize.
Karen, yes.
Yeah, I think this is an important topic because we are a public body and people have the right to give their public input to us. It's running differently than any other public body I've participated in that typically during the meeting, there's an opportunity for people to actually say their public comments. Now they don't, in my, history of experience with this, not all public comments warrant a response. People want to be heard, and so you hear them and you thank them for their public comment, and you move on. You take it into consideration, or there might be a good reason not to, a policy or a statute or a certain reason not to do it. People get excited about things. So the way we're doing this, it seems like somebody is, Jessica, you said you're getting the emails, you monitor that email account. I'm sure that when you look at an email, you kind of categorize it in your mind. This is an administrative thing. This is actually a policy question. This is related to an RFP. You kind of do that categorization when you look at the email. And I don't know the kind of volume we're getting, but I wonder if there would be an opportunity for when we meet at the end of the meeting, somebody could just state the public comments. Like literally, we got a email from this individual and the nature of their message is this, and they would like us to do this or consider this. I don't have any idea what that would be because people are looking at what we're doing, and some people are really supportive, some people are not. Like we talked about earlier, there's probably a lot of public comments that people might have. But anyway, the way we're doing this is a little different. And I'm just trying to figure out a way that these comments and people's thoughts get kind of vetted in a public way versus they go into an email and then they may never hear anything again. So I'll stop there and see if that sparked any thoughts or ideas.
Thank you, Karen. So, if I may continue down, at this point, we are able to consolidate all of the emails into a document, send them out to you, and then have you review. And that does put us in a position of a delay in your receiving those comments and a delay in a response. A reminder that all of the council does have access to state emails, and some folks also have access to state computers. And the use of those emails and computers is protective if, for instance, there is a requirement for gathering of public records. And if those emails, the state email and the state computer are used, that does protect council members from the possibility of those more personal emails or computers being searched for those pieces of information. The other piece of using the state email is that we are able to connect the Measure 110 inbox to those state emails so that you have access and are able to look through the emails as they arrive to the OHA. And so this is another request that if you are not able to access your state email or computer, if you know the specific barrier, like I can't log in, or I can't get on the internet, or can't remember my password, or whatever it may be, if you're struggling at all to access your email or your computer, just let us know. what the specific barriers are to you using those, either your equipment or your email, and we will connect you individually with the resources that you need to access those. Once we have everyone who's able to access those emails would be available for reading through your state email. And so that could give us the possibility of either continuing to send out the emails once a month as a cluster, or providing those emails as they come in to the inbox. And so that may shape a little bit around what the policy that you might choose to be, whether it would be in an inbox or in a PDF document that we would send out to everyone. Just wanting to call that out. And I have a proposal for a possible policy. You are welcome to do with it what you will, but it is a possible plan stepwise through a process that could work if you think it is a good one. Basic steps would be that the council could designate a responder, either a single person or a team. And then when an email to the OAC is received, either OHA staff would receive it, or council members would be able to see it in the inbox. A scripted response goes out, notifying the sender that the council will consider and respond. OHA staff shares the email with the responder team. The responder team drafts responses in alignment with the council and shares it back with staff, who then, and this is to avoid serial communications, shares that with the rest of the council, allowing them a few days to respond with any input that they may have on that response. Then the DOJ would potentially review the draft for legal sufficiency. If it is then approved, the OHA staff would then send out the replies, or the responder team with access to the email could send out that reply. And then if there are action items, there could be a time designated in OAC meetings for discussion and decisions. And then if you would like to share responses with the public, we could provide a space on the website to post an FAQ. I see you chuckling, Ron. Do you have any thoughts? Okay, so this is just an option. It's a beginning of a potential policy on how you could direct the process, but again, it is totally up to you, and I leave it to you. Yes, Amy.
I like the part where they're like, just that we can confer on it, but not everybody gets to answer these emails, because that would just be ridiculous. It would get out of control and ridiculous. So it's kind of better to have, you know, one person or not a lot of people's hands. Too many hands in the pot makes the stew too salty, and so we don't want to do that. And I think that that's a good idea, not to have multiple responsees. That's all I got.
Thank you, Amy. Lou?
Yeah, I think the previous slide had, or maybe a couple slides ago, had just said that if we're having trouble, that we need to reach out with our about our state emails. And is there a point person for that?
Jessica, did you have a response to that, or was it another?
Yeah, no. Let's just stay on the slide. And then I just want to say, yes, Blue, if anybody would like to speak about this, please go ahead and email. You can email me and Sydney McConnell, and we will get you scheduled with somebody from the business office. Yep.
Any other thoughts?
Well, I appreciate all the work that you all put into this. It's a pretty exhaustive email policy. It covers.
Mhm. It covers all the details. That is the truth.
But you weren't looking for like any kind of movement on this. You just wanted to present it and have people kind of cogitate on it, just kind of think it through and maybe talk it through. But there was no
Yeah.
particular action for today.
We don't have to take a vote on this. It's just a
Yeah.
proposal for you if you would like to consider. I think that having a policy around how you proceed is a good idea for the simple reason of what Amy just said. If the council receives emails and then is able to, or there's not a discussion at least of how responses happen, I think that the emails are coming to the full council, and it seems useful for the full council to have thought through and responded to those emails as a group.
So kind of going back to Karen's point about kind of the nature of public comment, wouldn't we be able to dispense with all of this if it was just purely public comment related to the council's work, to be able to set aside 5 minutes at the end of the meeting to just read the thing? But I would want to know from Allison and Shannon, because I think we've been told repeatedly that we're not doing public, there's no public portion of this meeting where there's public interaction. So we would need to hear from Allison or Shannon whether or not that would be possible or legal or permissible under statute or under existing rules.
If it's all right, I'm going to take down the presentation so that we can see each other and speak to each other.
Hey, Ron, so I just wanted to make sure I got your question. So it sounds like you'd like some guidance about options for having public have the opportunity to provide comments live in a meeting.
To be able to read public comments from our emails out loud at the end of the meeting.
Okay, we can provide some guidance on that. Thanks for that question.
In response to Dharma's question in the chat, no, there is not another vote today, and so completely understood. If you need to step away, that is okay. Thank you.
Can I just speak up real quick? So it sounds like we have some ideas from the council. We have, maybe we could just read the public comments at the end. Maybe we use this policy that Angela suggested. So I think what we can do now is that we have some input from y'all. Y'all can think about it over the, the nice long holiday weekend. We have some ideas from you, and then we can just go back and do a little follow-up and come back with the, how realistic are these options? Can we do these options based on, all the stuff that Ron talked about?
And just a note on how other community councils do their work. There is often time for public comment in those meetings. However, typically the councils do not respond. It's not a two-way conversation in those meetings. It's simply a space for the public to provide their comments in space for the council to hear and for the public to hear.
Thank you. Jessica?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I also, you all are doing a lot of work. You're expected to do a lot of work. You meet 4 times a month. So, I mean, while other public bodies do function like that, also, you all hold a very unique role here, and you're asked to give up so many hours of your time. And so I just want to acknowledge that in public, right? That this is a kind of a unique council in that way.
Thank you, Jessica. So that completes our agenda for today.
Indeed.
Unless, Blue, do you have anything to add?
I thought we were maybe going to touch on the media subcommittee, but I'm not sure if that maybe got pushed until next week.
Well,
That's the only
I'm
thing I
looking
was
at
thinking
I'm looking
about.
at the number of people still present,
Oh.
thinking that we should push it.
The media subcommittee is reinitiating. There will be a doodle poll sent out to all interested parties, the prior group, and anyone else who has let me know at this time that they would like to be a part of that meeting. And we will get that scheduled shortly.
So unless anyone has anything else, we're going to go ahead and adjourn. I want to thank everybody for being here. Thanks everybody who stuck around to the end. Thank you, staff, for all your hard work.